All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Clubhouse Online Best Practices. So I know for a lot of you today, this might be your last session, of the day. Sorry, my coffee is just kicking in, guys. Last session of the day. So just wanted to thank you overall for taking the time to join in our conference today. We hope we're getting a lot of new information, learning new skills that you can take back to your club. Hi, so I just wanted to introduce Rob here. So you might have seen him throughout the day as well. Rob Lamanna here is our product manager for Clubhouse Online. He's going to be assisting with the presentation by chiming in on anything as well as helping to answer questions throughout the session. With that said, or I guess I should introduce myself, sorry. My name is Alyssa Reese. You guys might have seen my face throughout the event platform just a little bit through the conference. I am the digital education specialist, okay, and I specialize in creating most of our how-to videos and digital documentation and doing fun things like this for you guys, creating these events to participate in. Hi, so I know you've probably seen this slide a few times today, but just a friendly reminder, if you have any questions at all or comments, feel free to post them in the chat box. And again, Rob will be moderating those today for us, so we will answer as they come up when we can. And if we can't answer right away, we do have a question and answer period specifically scheduled for the end of our session today, so we'll definitely go through them then or cover them by following up with you after the session. Also, the session is going to be recorded, so that will be made available for you post-session. And thank you so much, Janet. That's a very nice comment there. Okay, so the agenda for today, I'm going to cover a lot of fun stuff with you, and the big focus for the session today is best practices. Okay, with that said, if you guys haven't noticed, a lot of the sessions do have a handout or handouts available as the attachments. Okay, so please download the attachment for the session because I've included tons of links for you guys, a lot of help articles. Hey, we're not going to be covering them in the session itself, but these are for future reference. Oh yeah, Alyssa told me how to do this. How do I go do that? Okay, save that PDF so you can access all of that for future reference. There is also a basic SEO guidelines handout in there as well. Okay, lots of steps to help you with your SEO practices. Okay, so we'll go ahead and jump into handy resources. I threw this at the beginning, just some really important keynotes to show you guys. And with that said, one of them is the fact that if you weren't aware, we have 3 different types of websites that you could potentially have. Okay, so the top 2 boxes that you hear, okay, sorry, Adam, for the resources handouts, guys, if you're not familiar, if you actually scroll down to the bottom of the page where you're viewing the live stream, all the attachments will be there for you. Okay, so a responsive or non-responsive website, if you can see in the top left-hand box, if you have one of these types of websites, please use the help support site. Okay, versus if you have a widget website, you're going to use the support website in the top right-hand box. Okay, again, it's very important that you use the right support site depending on what type of website you have because the instructions will be based on your type of website. So this is an example here of lots of links I have throughout the presentation. So again, if you guys save that PDF, you can actually click those links and save them into your browser so you can use them for future reference. Hey, as you can see here, we've also got all our support contact information as well as our support email. Now you may be like, well, what's responsive versus not non-responsive versus widget / I don't know what type of website I have. Hey, Rob here was great and helped me put these screenshots in here for you guys. So what happens is when you log in as an administrator to your website and you switch to Club Central, in the top, can you see my hand? Sorry, the top left-hand corner of your website, it'll say your website name, okay, or your club name, sorry. Right beside your club name, you'll either see an R for responsive, NR for non-responsive, or a W for widget. Okay, so that lets you know what type of website you have. And again, as you're going through the links in the handout afterwards, it'll let you know which links to reference when you're working on your website. To go with your question there, responsive, it's kind of upgrading. There's responsive versus widgets, different types of styling your website. Rob, I'm not sure if you want to chime in there quickly or not.
Sure. I mean, a responsive website is going to work equally well on desktop, tablet, and mobile. So it'll reorient content and shrink content to fit within the space allowed. Widgets differ from responsive. They're both responsive, but widgets differ in that it's a little more structured in terms of building your content. Um, you're not using just a straight content editor. You're going to have tools to do specific jobs. And you'll have a list of widgets that are available on a given page. You can select that, and the configuration is much simpler. So instead of having to, figure out all the styling on your own and figure out what you're going to do in terms of layout, that's all done for you. You're really just filling out a series of fields, and the system will build it accordingly. And then, like I said, all the content that gets produced by those widgets are going to figure out on which device they're being used and reflow accordingly. So the biggest difference is responsive is a little more free form in terms of what you can do, but it's a lot more difficult to build the content versus the widgets, which is much easier to manage from your perspective on an ongoing basis. Alyssa, just to track back one question from Adam Herring, he was asking, where are these resources or handouts found? So the PDF download, where can they find it?
Yeah, definitely. So thank you, Rob, for chiming in there. That was great. Just in case you missed where the handouts are, when you're watching the live stream right now, if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, they will be available at the bottom. And this is the same for all the sessions for you guys. So if there's any other handouts you wanted to go back and check for your other sessions, they're going to be at the bottom of the page for you. Okay. Along with what Rob said about the websites, typically if you need an upgraded version, it be because you're non-responsive, and non-responsive means that when you look at your mobile device, your page isn't going to automatically fit the screen. You're going to have to do the pinch and zoom. Okay, so again, just depends on what you guys in the club prefer. Like Rob said, if you want to work HTML style and you want to do a little bit more diving into your website building, you can go responsive. Otherwise, if you'd like to have kind of these cool pre-built little content blocks that you can just throw your content in, that's a widget style website. And you can check out our demo websites as well. We have lots of different demos to show you guys the difference, and you can see what works best for your club. Okay, and also I see lots of comments coming in. Thank you again. I'm going to do my best to look at them, and Rob's going to as well, and we'll always respond throughout or at the end of the session. Okay, so if we don't get to your comment right away, just want to let you know we're not ignoring you. We do see them coming in. Okay, so, Administrator User Guide. Another really handy resource if you weren't aware of this one, this is a link on the support site. Okay, this is super cool. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up a video walkthrough to show you guys what it looks like. Okay, same kind of thing within the PDF of the presentation. If you want to save it, what you do is you click the Administrator User Guide and you can save that link, the Administrator User Guide. You're going to figure out what is it that you're looking for help on. Okay, depending on what you pick, you can break it down even further, and you're going to go ahead and click Get Started. And depending on what you're searching for, we have webinars for some of our features. We have lots of videos where you may hear my voice, lots of help articles, and the opportunity to contact support. Okay, so if you are going to save a link after this presentation, definitely encourage you to save that Administrator User Guide, as it, again, breaks down exactly what you're looking for and helps point you in the right direction for your resources. Okay, so my next slide here, we also have tons of videos. Okay, so like I said, you may hear my voice a lot in our videos. I apologize for that. But for our videos, I'm just going to throw up another little video walkthrough to show you guys. Okay, so we have a couple YouTube channels. This one here is for you as administrators. Lots of how-to, hey, on how to use the products and features for the websites. We also have a member resource center. Okay, that's one you see here. And these are the videos for your member perspective. So actually showing them how to use our booking modules, how to view their statements, how to make online payments. Hey, lots of great resources in there. And lastly, you can actually view our videos directly from the support site. Okay, so just pick the section you want to look at videos for and navigate over to the video library. And when you're in there, if there's a certain section of videos you want to look for, you just click on it at the top of the page and you'll see all the videos for that area or module within ClubHouse Online. Okay, so definitely encourage you guys to take advantage. Again, there's lots of links that throughout here, so you can go ahead and save them for future use. Oops. Okay, content management and practices. So first thing we're going to look at here is website media. Okay, so if you're not familiar with it, when you're adding media to your website, whether it be images or files, we want to add them to the media library. Okay, so the media library is basically your big organization for all the files and images throughout your site. A big reason for using the media libraries is it allows you to keep everything organized and within one place. You can even create folders within your media libraries. So you can label them, maybe this is from an event or these are certain photos for this. Okay? And it helps to label your files. So if you can see in the screenshot on the right, okay, instead of just dumping your files in, if you label them, you can easily search for them in your media libraries, and it's a lot easier to add them to your web pages. Now, along with that image you guys see on the right, we want to please avoid doing this. Okay, this is dumping files into our content tree. And for those who are familiar with editing your website, hey, the content tree is where all pages are found. So, a big issue with dumping your files into the content tree is that when someone is trying to view your website, the website's actually going to go through and do a security check for each one of the files and pages in your content tree. So if you have a whole bunch of files sitting there, the website may run slow as it's checking every single one of those files. Hey, not only that, it makes it really hard to organize your tree. Hey, again, it's just a whole bunch of stuff thrown in there. Hey, so remember, save our files into our media libraries. And if your content tree looks like this, definitely feel free to reach out to support and they can point you in the right direction on how to clean it up instead of you going in and just kind of deleting them if they're being used currently on your website. Hey, reach out to support. They can help get you in the right direction. Again, moving forward, put everything into your media libraries. So the image on the left in this slide here is an example of an image gallery. So if you weren't aware, we have a page type that is called image galleries, and you can actually put the images in here and they'll appear really nicely as the same size. Okay, so it just makes for nice consistency on the page as an option of a way to display your images. Also, you can display PDFs. Okay, so PDFs can be displayed either individually throughout your site, maybe you link to a PDF on the page, or another page type we have is called the PDF viewer. And what you can do is add all your PDFs. Say you have a monthly newsletter. Now you can add all those newsletters directly to the one page type, and your members or guests, whoever's viewing the page, can look through all those newsletters. Okay, as a best practice for your PDFs, let's say you have, if you guys are familiar with the terminology, your parent pages are the ones that appear in the navigation. Okay, so let's say your parent page is your newsletter page. All the sub pages below that are your child pages. And let's say you add every newsletter as a child page. Okay. Imagine if you have 1 year, 2 years, 3 years worth of newsletter as child pages. Okay. That's going to be a long list of navigation for your users to look through. So we actually encourage you guys to hide those child pages from the navigation. And remember, you can link to them from your main page. Okay, so you have your main newsletter page, and then you link to each individual page. Okay, I'm sorry I can't like visually show you this right now, but hopefully it's making a little sense with my hand movements in here.
Yeah, just to add to what Alyssa was saying, typically you don't have to worry about hiding them. By default, a lot of files will be hidden from the content tree. But if, for instance, a PDF is not, then to Alyssa's point, you probably just want to have the one page hosting all the links to the PDFs. So another good idea is as they start getting older and you don't necessarily need to show more than a year worth of newsletters, you can start deleting the older ones and they'll remove themselves from the page type. So just manage your content like it was your hard drive and you started running out of space. The more stuff you have in there, the slower the site's going to perform. To Alyssa's point, in terms of evaluating who can see what pages, it has to go through all those documents, even if it's not showing them. So manage your content tree like it was a hard drive that you were running out of space on.
Exactly. I like that reference. Thanks, Rob. Okay. Hyperlinks. So hyperlinks are a great way to link to external pages. You can link to internal pages, email addresses, images, okay? Ways to open other things within your website. Now, as a best practice for your links, if you are linking to an external website, so a third party website, we highly encourage you guys to set the link to open in a new window. So, what that means is when a user clicks on that link, instead of opening it directly in the web browser, so say you guys opened a link right now while you're watching our live stream, it would completely take you away from the live stream and open the link on the same page. Okay, opening in a new window will open that link in a new tab for you. That way, you're still got the live stream running, but you also have the new link available in a new tab. Okay, now if you do have a widget site, most of those settings are set to go automatically for you, so you don't have to worry about setting them. However, if you have a non-responsive or responsive, there is a setting, and as you can see at the bottom of my slides, those are the articles. Hey, take a look and it walks you through how to set that link to open a new tab. Also with your links, it's really nice to change your links into buttons. Okay, as you can see in my screenshot example here, it really makes them stand out nicely. So when users are looking through your pages, they can see these nice big buttons. This is where I know I'm going to click to fill out my membership form. Hey, again, a lot of the button stuff is preset to the widget sites, so those will automatically be created for you. Hey, just an important note with hyperlinks. If you are linking to a page that requires authentication, which means I have to log in to view that page, the person does have to actually log in before they can view the content, even if they click on the link. Okay, so if they're not pre-logged in, they will have to log in to view the content.
We have a question, Alyssa, from Ed Cloutier, who asks, is there any way to open a PDF without opening a new window and losing the site navigations? Unfortunately, no. So again, to Alyssa's point, you can set those up to open in a new tab, and they should happen automatically. But from recently, there was a change with respect to in most browsers with respect to HTTPS or SSL. As you're probably going to talk about later about SSL certs, but there was a change made in that where it required us to no longer launch it in that viewer page anymore, and it launched into a separate tab where people could see just the PDF. Mind you, the original tab from which you were linking should still remain present, so that you can still bounce back to the site for navigation, but the PDF's open in a separate tab. It just modeled after, like I said, it was required by a change within browsers with respect to HTTP and HTTPS. However, we're modeled it after modern credit card statements, bank statements, where they always launch in a separate tab, just being the PDF, and you still have the site open in a previous tab to allow for navigation within the remainder of the site.
Excellent. Thanks, Rob. Okay. All right. Forms. So forms are really great to use throughout your site if you haven't tried to use them yet. Pardon me, they're called biz forms. And you can actually configure them however you like using the certain fields that we have. And you can pick and choose what field should be on the form, what the field should say, and what fields are required. And you can use forms for just about anything you want to use to collect information for, such as new members forms, camp sign up forms. Okay? And once those forms are filled out, that data actually gets transferred to the website for you so you can have all that collected together. Another interesting thing, if you weren't aware, if you weren't aware, scrolled too quick there on my page, is that if you have our CRM application through Encore or Jonas Activity Management, the data from the form can actually be transferred over to your back office system. And from there, you can send that data to email marketing to actually contact the person that filled out the form. Okay, so if this is something you're interested in, definitely reach out to your account manager and they'll be able to get you a bit more information on how CRM works. Now, most importantly, when it comes to forms, please, please, please do not collect financial information or personal security information. Okay, this is right at the top when you're creating your forms. We do not want to collect that kind of information in forms. Hey, page security. So every page that you create within the website does require page security to be configured. The page security allows you to determine who can access the page, okay, if they require authentication or not. So remember the authentication, that means, do I have to be logged in to view this page? Or if I happen to stumble on your website because I'm looking at becoming a member, I can just see that content. Okay. It also determines what type of authenticated users can view the page. Maybe you have certain pages that only your employees can see when they log in, or pages only your members can see when they log in. Within the page security settings, you also establish who is allowed to edit and publish those pages. Okay, so depending on how you guys have your content editor set up, you might not have everyone having access to editing those pages. Now, by default, administrators and content editors will be added to all pages for you. So you don't have to actually go in and add those. You're just adding any additional security roles on there. And if you weren't aware as well, when you create child pages, the child pages actually inherit the security settings from your parent page. So, say you have a golf section and all the pages in the golf section have the same security settings, you don't have to go and adjust the security settings for the child pages. However, of course, as best practice, it doesn't hurt to go in and just click and double check the security for all pages just to make sure it's set up the way you like.
Alyssa, we have another question from Janet Fraser regarding biz forms. She asks, on the biz forms, can you attach like a release form that needs to be filled out? Um, I would say no. You could use the biz form to be the release form potentially. It would track when people sign it, they can check a box as a signature. Or alternatively, you can actually upload a file into a biz form if necessary. So if you gave them the form and they were submitting it by way of the biz form, that's another option. But in and of itself, it doesn't have the ability to have an attachment baked into it. So either it's the biz form is itself the release, or you can have the release form available as a PDF on the website and they can take that down, fill it out, and then upload it through the biz form. We also have another question on your most recent slide
Yep.
asking what the difference is between an administrator and a content editor.
Excellent. So, administrator basically has full website access. As soon as they access Club Central, they can oversee the modules, the website, any bits to do with Clubhouse Online. A content editor doesn't have that access. All they have access to is editing web pages. So, you don't want them to access the modules or make any changes. You literally just want them to update the web pages. So, great questions coming in, guys. Hey,
We have
sorry.
another one. We have another one from Adam Herring who's asking, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly and it's not Haring, but whichever way, is there a way to tell where an image is used on the website? He inherited a disorganized media library with image files saved without names. He worries about mass deleting them or cleaning this up because there may be images being used on a page and he didn't know about it.
That's a great question. I know where it is. I can't think off the top of my head, Rob. Do you know the settings
Yeah,
to go in? Yeah,
offhand, I'm not sure, but I will look into that during the presentation. And by the time we get to the
excellent.
question and answer,
Yeah,
I'll try to get you an
we'll
answer on
get
that.
back. I know there is a way, Adam. I just can't think off the top of my head. I think Rob's on the same page there. So these are great questions coming in, guys. Any questions that you've been building up, feel free to throw them in again. We'll answer them as we can. All right, on to search engine optimization, SEO. Hey, so again, there is an attachment on basic SEO guidelines for you guys that's going to go into a lot more details on SEO, including how to set it up and images, walking you through everything. Okay, so I'm just going to do a really brief overview on SEO itself. Now, from a Clubhouse Online standpoint for SEO, we do have options that allow you to lay out content on your pages that actually allow search engines to crawl through your pages and find this information. Okay, so one of those things is using H tags. And H tags are also known as heading tags. So those are when you go in and you put larger text in certain sections where you want that text to stand out, like your titles and subtitles. And what happens is when the search engines go look through your websites, they're pulling those heading titles. Okay, so definitely want to use heading tags throughout your site to emphasize those titles of the sections and of your pages. With that, you also want to look at using alternative text. Okay, sometimes the way the alternative text works is say when you hover over an image or a hyperlink, it's like a tooltip where it displays that text for you. Okay, it also allows search engines to figure out what that image or hyperlink is supposed to be. And all you have to do is use like a brief descriptive file name. So for example, you can put like the clubhouse. Okay, another great thing about the alternative text is it really helps those visiting your website who have accessibility devices. So for anyone who can't actually read the hyperlink or know what the image is, it provides them a description instead. And sometimes for those who might have screen readers, it reads the text for them. Okay, so very helpful to have. Last note on this slide is internal page linking. Okay, also helps with your SEO. And you can easily do this by, say, on your Member Central page, you can link to your modules, link throughout the website. Just do some nice internal linking to help up your SEO results. Okay, Peggy, is there a character limit to alternative text? I'm not sure. It may depend on where you put that. Rob, I'm not sure if you know of an exact. count?
I think it may be limited to something like 50 characters, but I'll see if I can
Okay.
find anything.
I believe, yeah, and if sometimes if you hover over to, it might tell you that there's a text count, but typically, again, you want the alternative text to be nice and brief, as it's just kind of, again, an alternative way to see what that image or hyperlink is. Okay, so on this slide here, we have the HTML sitemap. Okay, so you guys should have this on your content tree. And typically it's just called a sitemap. And what it is just a one-page index of all the pages on your site, and they're hyperlinked. Hey, you don't have to manage it. It actually updates itself for you. The only thing you would have to do is if there's any pages you don't want appearing on your sitemap, you can remove those. Okay, and again, all these instructions are in the SEO basic guidelines for you. Another cool thing is the XML sitemap. So that's the larger image on this screen here. This is really easy to get to. All you have to do is in your search bar, bring up your club website and then put / Google sitemap.xml, and you should get a similar image to what you see on my screen. If not, definitely feel free to reach out to support. Hey, we'll help you. And then again, in those guidelines, it'll walk you through how to provide that XML sitemap over to your search engine. Okay, that one's really handy for a search engine because it's grabbing all the information it needs. So when users actually go in and look for your site online, it's going to help them grab that information for you. All right, modules. So this is the last slide within the website media section. So when it comes to your modules, these are like your booking modules, your courts, your tea times, your statement page. Please don't move them in the content tree, okay? Or rename them. If you move or rename them in your content tree, you can actually break the pages, which means when your members go to, book a tea time, they may not be able to access the module. Okay, so instead of actually moving or renaming it, you can redirect to it from another area of your website. Okay, so you can say, for example, throw up a link and a button and say, click here to book a tea time. Okay. Within that itself, too, if you look at the top of the module page here, in the booking modules in the statement page, you can put rules in here, you can put guidelines, information, whatever you need for your members to see for that module, you can throw it right at the top of the module. And with that, a lot of these modules have a help tab that can be enabled. And you simply turn that on from the Club Central settings, and you turn on your videos, and these are how-to videos for your members on how to go about actually using the modules and making bookings so they don't have to contact you for help in that way.
Alyssa, we have a couple. I have an answer to Peggy Hatch's question about limit to alt text. The alternate text limit is 100 characters on a given image. And then there's a question from Ed Cloutier asking, why would we want any member-only pages appearing in SEO search engines? They are inaccessible to non-members. You don't, there's no need. If, however, the page, you want them to be indexed and help people with searching, even if they are members, then even if they showed up in the search engine when someone's looking for results, if they're not accessible to members, then they would require a login in order to get to them. So that would prevent anyone else from seeing them. However, if it were for your members, and you wanted them to easily find it, that would be the advantage of having them show in search engine optimization, that they could easily search for it in Google, it would find it, they could click on it, they would log in, or if they're already logged in, it would just redirect them to the page. But up to you, and you can use robots.txt to hide those pages from your site anyway.
Exactly. You make a great point there, Rob. And Tim, how do we turn on the help tab? So for that, an administrator can log into the website and switch to the Club Central. Then you'll want to find the module, and in the settings, there is a button that usually says like help. Okay, again, and a lot of the articles that I have linked to throughout the site, you can find it there. If not, go into the booking module section, and in the configuration sections, it will walk you guys through how to turn on those help videos.
Typically, the help tab is turned on by default. It's unusual that it's not on. But to Alyssa's point, in the module configuration screen within Club Central, you should be able to see a display help tab flag, which you can just check and save, and it'll add it to the module that you've configured.
Ah, great. Okay, on to system administration. Okay, so a lot of the system administration stuff we're going to go through with you guys is to do with user management. Okay, so when you create new users for your website, if you can see the image on the left, you're going to set the user type to administrator. Okay, so the administrator is having the administrator role again allows you to log into Club Central to get into the back end of the website to do the configuration settings. Okay, there is an employee role in the user type option, but remember that's like your member role. So it's not that they're going to do edits to the back end of the website. You just want pages made available to them that they can only see if they log in using their employee role. Okay, now keep in mind, I know this was kind of brought up earlier, but not every admin user needs full admin access. Okay, remember a full admin can go in, they can edit web pages, they can edit configuration settings for the modules, they can basically do whatever you guys have access to in the back end of your website. So if there's anyone that you have helping, maybe they're only going to be a content editor, so they're only going to be editing web pages. Maybe your golf pro needs an account because they need to go in and look at tee time settings. Okay, after you create your user, you want to go into the role section and assign them the role. Okay, be very specific and just say this is what you're going to have access to when you log into the website. With that said as well, it is encouraged to limit the number of full admin users that you do have for your websites. Okay? Again, just because the full admin does have full access to everything, if you pick a few people, okay, these are our full admins, and then break down your other roles, it just helps you organize and know who has the ability to do what within your website. So, along with that as well, it is highly encouraged to deactivate users that no longer need an account for the website. Okay, whether it be staff turnover at the club or that staff just won't be helping with the website anymore. Okay, go in and deactivate their account because if they still have access and they still have their password, just like anything, they could go in, they could log in, and not saying that they would, we don't want to allow them the opportunity to do that. Okay, so good best practice that once you have the turnover or again the staff shouldn't have access anymore, make sure you deactivate and delete their account. And also please make sure everyone has their own separate login. Okay, just like all the other kind of sites, activities and stuff that you log into, you want your own login, and we don't want to share our login information including our passwords. Okay, because the system can actually track who did what changes, and you'll kind of want to know if you're all sharing the same login, you don't know who made what changes. Okay, so have your own separate logins.
Okay, we got a couple questions come in from Sam Roby. He's asking, I'm supposed to have full admin access and I do not. How do we change this? Well, I mean, you need someone at the club, or you'd have to call into support, and we could modify your user type so that it's no longer a non-admin and you have full admin access. Or someone could just add the administrator role to your account today. I mean, we typically don't like doing this for any user in particular because they could be circumventing their club's rules. So if you could have your site administrator contact ClubHouse Online support, I'm sure they'd be happy to help you out and fix that, or have your site administrator do that for you. It's administrator access. Okay, so Sam, let me clarify. There's two things. There's administrator role, and there's also the administrator user type. So if you're an administrator user type, you have the administrator role. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But there's also a flag that says administrative access on your user. What that means is you have access to Club Central. Any user can be given this, not just an administrator user. Within Club Central, what limits your ability to see and modify certain things is the role that you possess, or the roles that you possess. So to Alyssa's earlier point about creating a tea time administrator versus a court administrator versus a dining administrator, those roles have very limited access, whereas an administrator has access to everything and the ability to create users. So you need to have the administrator role, not just administrative access. So like I said, you can either ask your site administrator to do it for you, or you can call into support and just let someone know that, have the administrator call into support so that we can do it on their behalf. Because we don't want to, like I said, give someone access to the site that doesn't have it. It shows administrator role. So Sam, maybe you need to just call into support and we can go further with that.
Yeah. And on to Barbara and Logan. Like your point about having a user role specifically just for doing password resets and everything. I'm not sure if Rob's making note of that now or not, but yeah.
I am. It's a little trickier to do for
Mhm.
just exclusively that purpose. It may require us to give them rights to all of the user, like create users, modify users, and the ability to reset passwords. But we'll take a look into that afterward. I can't say definitively on that at this point, but we'll take a look at it.
Excellent. And Rob, do you mind chiming in to Ed's comment there? Admin and employee roles?
Yeah. So from a Club Central perspective, no. Um, Again, if you have the administrator role, you're going to have full administrator privileges. From a viewing site content perspective, though, that's a little bit different. So the way page security works, so Alyssa was covering it earlier by saying which roles have access to either read or modify or what have you. In page level security, if you have the admin role and you have the employee role, probably doesn't change anything. But um, a deny trumps all allow. So when you look at page security, there's going to be two columns of checkboxes. One is allow and one is deny. So if, for instance, as an administrator, you were allowed to read this page and you were allowed to modify this page, but as an employee, that other role was denied the ability to see that page, then the administrator role wouldn't be able to override it. So a deny always trumps an allow. And we're really just talking about viewing pages on the live site, not necessarily managing the site through Club Central. So like I said, the only way that's going to take effect is if at the page security level, you've said that the employee role is denied, in which case the administrator the person who had both roles would not be able to see it. But again, only from the live site. We're not talking about administration. In administration, those roles don't really override one another, but that's the only circumstance where it might be problematic.
Excellent. Thanks for explaining that, Rob. Okay, so our next slide here. There we go. Company synchronization. So, as you might be aware, your website is constantly syncing the data with the back office. Okay. However, there are certain circumstances where you might want to do a manual synchronization. Okay. And if you have to do a manual synchronization, typically it's just going to be one of the three synchronizations you see on screen here. Okay, so if for whatever reason a member reaches out to you and says, oh, the data for my statements isn't showing correctly, or they're questioning what they have on the website versus what you have in the back office, okay, all you have to do is go into the company synchronization setting and put in a date, typically the first of the month for that statement period. Okay, throw their member number in and click start, and that will sync the back office to the website of just that member's statements for you. Okay, and we'll update that for you. We have the same thing with the roster. If for whatever reason the member calls you, how come my information is appearing like this, even though it's supposed to be like this in your settings? Hey, throw in their member number, run that individual roster sync, and it will update their information on the website for them. Okay. Last sync that you have is the tea time sync. So if you make any changes to an open tea sheet, hey, you'll want to make sure you come in here and update that tea sheet in ClubHouse Online. Okay. Along with the syncs, if you find that regardless of this or any information in general isn't updating to your website, there's been a delay, maybe you had a power outage or anything, hey, please contact our support team and they'll be able to do a large configuration sync and make sure your connections are still going between your website and the back office. Hey, provisioning settings. So this, as well as the next slide, have to do with logging into the website. Okay, so when a user registers for the website, they have to enter their data, as you see here, their member number, first name, and last name, exactly as you have it entered in the back office. Okay. When they register, you do have the option of adding additional security questions on top of these three mandatory questions. If you do want to add additional security, we'd suggest only adding like one or two questions and maybe something like email address or phone number, because again, they have to enter it exactly as it's in that back office. So if they're typing things wrong, they're trying to enter birth date, but you have month and year, or month, day, year, they enter day, month, year, it's not going to let them register. So just keep that in mind. The three mandatory questions are absolutely fine. Okay. Also, if you do have a registration email that goes out after the member's registered for your website, you'll want to use a legitimate sender's email. Okay? That way, if the member does respond to the email, maybe they have questions or anything, or they just want to say your website's awesome, I can't wait to explore. Hey, that way you'll actually get that email. So along with the provisioning settings, you also have login configurations. And this picture here is your password controls. Okay. Now, although you can change what you want the password requirements to be, this is what we, as well as our Jonas Web support team, encourage you to set as your minimum requirements. Okay, we all know passwords nowadays. I know there's so many of them, so many different sites we use, but they are very, very important in protecting our data and security. And we just want to encourage you guys to do the same for your members. Okay, so for a minimum length for the password, we encourage you to set that to 8 characters. And for the complexity, we encourage you to set that to alphanumeric or higher. Okay, alphanumeric means at least one letter and one number are required within the password. Now, within your login configuration screen, you also have the ability to, let's say, block certain membership statuses or membership types from logging into the website. So the example I like to use is, say, the dependents or the kids. Okay, maybe all the kids have their own individual member account, but you don't actually want them logging into the website. You don't want them viewing their parent statement. You don't want them making their own bookings. Okay, you can block them from logging in, or reciprocal club accounts, any other accounts that you just don't want logging into the member portal, you can block those from logging in. Okay. A general note for all user types, regardless if you're administrator, content editor, member, employee, note that you will be logged out of your website after a certain amount of inactivity. Okay, so if that happens, as you're going through, as an administrator, content editor, if you're working on your pages, just make sure you're regularly saving, just like you would with a Word document. Hopefully, you guys haven't experienced that before. Things happens, computer crashes. So just get in the habit of clicking that save button, just in case, you have to go work with a member, come back in a bit and you've been logged out and you've lost your work. Hey, we definitely don't want that to happen. So just get really comfortable with clicking that save button every time you can.
Okay, couple questions. We'll
Yeah.
start with the one that's right in context. So Tim Emery says, "Sorry, I might have missed it. How do we block how do we block dependents from using the website?" You can do this by on that login configuration screen. There's a login status filtering control where you can select the statuses. So you need to have the dependents have a unique status because you don't want to filter anyone else. You just want to filter um, dependents out. So make sure the dependents have a unique status of dependent or whatever it might be um, to ensure that you can isolate those when you're filtering. The second question comes from Carolyn Broder, and it's a little bit of a longer one. When a member number changes hands, they're an HOA, so this happens quite a bit whenever a property is sold. The member profile on the website does not automatically reset so the new owner can register on the site. In fact, the member number just updates with the new owner's name and email address, but does not delete the username and password, and so the old owner can still log on. Is this a sync issue or operator error on the part of our club management team? Okay, so we've gone through this a lot of times with HOAs and POAs. Usually, what we recommend is the outgoing owner. You want to move them to a different member number. Now, what I understand you want to try and do is keep the history of everything that went on with that property because the member number typically represents the property. There is a way to do that to move that information, keep that information on the member number. I would suggest contacting support and they can walk you through a process. But yeah, just changing the name associated with the account really isn't going to do much, right? That just gets treated like an update to that member record. So ideally, you would change the member number on the outgoing record, but you don't want to lose that history. So like I said, there is a way to do this. We have encountered this a number of times. I would suggest contacting support, and they can marshal the people necessary to sort of explain what the best process is in that regard.
Excellent. And Peggy, the password expire setting, that's for when a member goes to reset their password. There's a link on the member login window that just says how long you want that reset password link to be active for. So you can set it for 1 day if you want, meaning if they click it, they only have 24 hours to reset their password, or 7 days, as you see in the example here. And it just means if they forget to click that link and reset their password, they just have to go back in and click reset password again. Okay, member registration. So I know we've kind of said it throughout the presentation, but as long as your members, whether it be the primary member, the spouse, the dependent, as long as they have their own member number, they can register an account for the website. Okay? Of course, if you're allowing them to access the website. This is great because it allows them to log in and make their own bookings, view their statements, as opposed to having to constantly rely on the primary member or using the primary member's account. Okay, it gives them the ability to have their own individual account. Now, you guys as administrators can register members on their behalf. However, we definitely encourage the members to do this themselves so that they get familiar with the platform. They learn where to log in, how to set their password, okay? And right on the login page, which I think is in my screenshot here, when they register, there is a please click here and it walks them through the whole registration process. Okay, you guys can even save that if you want. Again, go on the login page, have that as an administrator. You can send it to your members, you can walk them through, and it gives them all the instructions. Now, it's very important that in each user should have their own email address. Okay. I know sometimes when you guys, set your members up, you have Pam and John, and their email address is pamandjohn@email.com. Okay. The issue with this is if Pam and John both register for the website, and let's say John forgets his password, he can't reset his password by himself because the system will not know whose account needs the password reset for. Okay, so if there's multiple users using the same email address, they have to actually reach out to you guys as the administrator and you have to manually reset their password. Okay, so along with the websites and honestly even just creating the member accounts within the back office, encourage your members to all have a unique individual email address for their accounts.
We have another question from Thomas Bertorelli asking, if he were to use change member numbers within the member file, would that work to reassign a number? Yes. So effectively what would happen is the member with the first number would, so when you change member number 1, let's say, to member number 2, then member number 1 gets freed up again. And the user is no longer associated with member number 1. They're now associated with member number 2. So a registration could take place for member number 1. Now, to that end, it may take a day for that to take place because we have to delete that member out of the system. That typically happens overnight. So it may require 24 or up to 24 hours thereafter for that number to be freed up.
Excellent. Thanks, Rob. Okay, SSL. So SSL, I guess in an easy way to say this, is what makes your website secure. Okay, so if you look at this image here, the SSL is the HTTPS. Okay, so your website is secure. So with the SSL certificate, it's very important for you guys at the club to know who has access to your SSL issuer account. Okay, because whoever has this access is the person who's going, also you want to double check if it's this person or anyone else who gets notified when any activity comes up on your account. So if there's updates that are needed, you have expirations coming up, any renewals, that way the person who's overseeing the account can make sure they're getting notified when these things are taking place. Now, that person will also want to know how to update your SSL certificate. Okay, if you're not sure, you can always reach out to our Jonas Web support team and they will point you in the right direction on how to update that SSL. Now, very, very important, okay, make sure that once you have updated your SSL certificate, that you please provide that to our Jonas Web support team, as they will actually update it to your website security for you. Okay, Google Analytics. Our good old friend Jerome Riley, who is the team lead of the Jonas Web Support team, put this Google Analytics page together for you guys right before our presentation. And it's fantastic. There's helpful resources here. I definitely encourage you guys to check this out, because if you didn't know, you can attach a Google Analytics code to your website. And using that Google Analytics code lets you do all the or view all the analytics that Google has to offer. This includes how many people are viewing your pages, what types of device they're using to view your pages. Maybe it's their iPhone versus their Android, or they're all looking at it from their desktop computers. Okay, take a look at these links. We show you guys how to create or access the Google Analytics, how to add the link to your website, okay, and also some reports you can run. So really cool to check out. Saving device passwords. Okay, last slide in the section here. Saving device passwords is very different depending on the device or browser you are using. Okay, it's not universal, so unfortunately, we can't give you an overall, this is how you save your password. We do have a couple videos, as you can see on the slide here, specifically for Apple, just because Apple is very specific. As for Android, there are so many different types of Android phones that it really is dependent on your phone type, and also again for your browser. So the best solution that we can offer for you if you want to save your password, whether it's you guys or your members that are saying, I want to save my password, go into your favorite search engine, search it up, say, for example, how do I save my password for Google Chrome? And it'll walk you through the steps on how to set up that save password.
We
Okay.
have a couple of questions coming in. Um, Amelia Leaksma asks, thank you for the SEO information. We already have our site connected to Google Analytics, but we are hoping to also better understand what keywords searchers are using to find us online. Is it possible to integrate with Google Search Console with our site? I don't believe that is possible today, but we can look for an answer afterwards to see if we support any Google Search Console support.
Okay. Tracy, as for where are the links, if you're referring to Google Analytics, this is a screenshot of the support article. So if you click on the Google Analytics links within this slide, it will take you into how to create a Google Analytics account, link to the account, and view the website usage. Okay. On to mobile app, unless Rob, did you want to jump in there at all?
No, people are helping each other. There's still a question
Excellent.
about where the
Yeah.
slides are, but I guess those will show up. The slides will show up after the presentation, correct?
Yes. Yeah, the slides. So again, at the bottom of the page right now, guys, if you minimize the live session or just access it afterwards, all the slides are available in the handouts at the bottom of the session. Hey, and you guys are awesome. I love that you're helping each other out and you're like, it's great. Okay, mobile app. So we have about 10 minutes left. So I'm going to go through a bit more quickly. We're going to try and skip over the questions as we can just to make sure I get the content in. There's actually not that much more. I just want to make sure I get it covered for you guys. Okay, Apple requirements. So this is only applicable if you have a custom mobile app. Okay, if you're not sure if you have a custom app or not, you can always connect with your account manager or our support team and they'll clarify that for you. Okay, but important if you do have a custom app that you want to renew your developer account at once a year through Apple. Okay, if you do not renew your developer account through Apple, there is a chance that Apple may actually remove your app from the App Store. Okay, so that's very important to do. And those links, again, at the bottom of the slide will walk you through all your requirements and how to go about doing those steps. Your Apple certificates will actually be renewed by our mobile app team. However, if there's any Apple agreements that you need to agree to, you have to make sure you agree to those before we can renew your certificates. Okay. And you should, whoever is the main account holder on your Apple account should get notification emails and stuff that there are new agreements. So just make sure you agree to those and we'll be able to update your certificates for you. Okay, mobile content. So we kind of talked to this at the beginning of the presentation, but keep in mind that the way content appears on your desktop. So literally, if you're looking at your desktop right now, how it appears on your desktop versus how it appears on your mobile device may be different. Okay, it's just going to adjust layout. So I did a couple screenshots here just to show you guys as an example. And this also relates to your mobile app. Okay, so the content may appear different on your mobile app than it does on your full website. Now, with that said, not everything you guys have on your website needs to appear on your mobile app. The mobile app is a nice, quick, easy access for members. They can log in, they can do their bookings, they can view their statements. Okay, so we really want to limit the number of pages we place on the app for them because keep in mind that they can always view your live site otherwise within an internet browser. Live sites are your full site in an internet browser. What you can also do as well is you can link pages from your website over to your app. So instead of duplicating a page and having to recreate the whole thing, and look at the article on this slide here, and it walks you through how to link your pages. So that way, when you update a page on your website, it will automatically update the page on your mobile app for you. Okay, so last section we have for today is back office considerations for Clubhouse Online. So when I say back office, I'm referring to either Jonas Club Management, Jonas Activity Management, or Encore. Hi, member accounts, lovely, beautiful family here, you guys can see. Okay, some important best practices here is for your member numbers, if you look at the member numbers at the bottom of this image, okay, we highly encourage you guys to stick to our standard numbering scheme. Hey, if you have any questions on this, again, you can always reach out if you're working with an implementation specialist right now or your account manager, or again, our support team. They'll walk you through kind of how best to do your member numbers. I know these are all preset and you guys have these, but moving forward, if you were to make changes, hey, just something to keep in mind. When you're using address types for your members, you want to use home and or business fields. Okay. If you use a different address type, it comes over as an other address in Clubhouse Online. Okay, so use the main home address or business address. And then for spouses and dependents, I know we've reflected on this again throughout the presentation, but ideally you want to have one, their own member status or membership type. So again, spouse, dependent, for example, and you can create their own member number. Okay, so again, remember anyone with their own member number who's been granted access can log into the website, can make their own bookings, view their statements, gives them the access to have their own account on the website. Okay. Also with that, for email marketing, again, same thing. If they have their own account, they can get emails for themselves as opposed to it all going to the primary member. Okay. With email marketing specifically, note that email addresses are not duplicated in email marketing. So that example I gave earlier, we have John and John and Pam both use John and Pam at email.com. The email address is only going to go through email marketing once, and it's going to be attached to the primary member. So now the spouse will not personally receive any emails, okay, because they're all going to go to the same email address. So in order for the primary and the spouse to both receive emails, they'll want their own individual member number and their own individual email address. And within email marketing, you can create groups and segments and send specifically to the spouses, specifically to the dependents, okay? Lots of great features you can use if you're using those individual accounts.
Alyssa, we have a question.
Yeah.
Ed Cluche asks, if a member resigns and is changed in the back office, does it automatically deny access to the website, or do you need to change their account in CHO as well? The answer is it will automatically update. So if you move the status of that member to resigned, they will, and you have your login configuration to deny resigned members or that status the ability to log in, then it will automatically prevent them from logging in thereafter.
Yeah, great comment there, Robin. Great question, Ed. Another good reason to use the login configuration, guys, if you set all your resigned status to not log into the website, once you change their status in the back office and the sync processes, they automatically will be locked out and will no longer be able to log into the website. All right. So just a few more points with email marketing. Obviously, if the member doesn't have an email address on file, they will not be uploaded to email marketing as they will not be able to get an email if they do not have an email address. Okay, similar with the website, or sorry, with your home addresses that we use home and business, email marketing also uses home and business email addresses, and these will automatically be flagged for you. Okay, so if you need to adjust this, you can do so in the member profile within the back office. Hi, so two more slides, just want to get through really quickly for you guys. So again, as you know, syncs are constantly run from the back office to your website for you. However, if you make any setting changes to your modules, so you're adding new event types, maybe you're adding new providers for your appointment bookings, okay, at that point, you'll want to run a manual sync within the back office. And that just makes sure those setting changes that you've made will transfer over to the website for you. Hey, this does not include bookings. If a member makes a booking online or registers for an event, or you guys create an event in the back office, that automatically syncs for you. Okay. It's just if you're going in and making setting changes in the back office. And Rob, I don't know if you have another way of emphasizing that.
Yeah, I mean it's not as dire as it seems in this case. I mean, I would say especially if it's dining reservations and you make a change in the back office, you definitely are going to need to run a sync. A lot of the other modules will do a lot of the updates for you automatically. Um, but yes, dining reservations especially run a sync. Um, Court booking to a lesser extent, event to a lesser extent. A lot of the stuff is handled automatically for you. So if you're making setting changes, we will get those. But dining is a little more complicated because there are tables and facilities. So a lot of that stuff is not synced up automatically. You'll need to manually run a sync for that, especially. But otherwise, I would restrict running syncs to if you notice a discrepancy, or if an event doesn't go up and you created it and it's not up there after a little bit, then I would go and say, okay, run the sync to reconcile it. But generally speaking, most of the modules. So when I talk about that, I'm talking courts, appointments, event, and class to a lesser extent, but those ones are pretty good. It's dining where we have, I would say, if you're making changes to tables and stuff like that, run a sync immediately. But otherwise, you should be pretty well okay, unless you notice a discrepancy and you want to run a sync.
Exactly. And also, if you've had any network or power outages, definitely go in and run a sync just to make sure nothing was, lost or cut down during that time. And if at any point that you have any suspicion that, your website isn't syncing to the back office, give us a call at support, sorry, contact at support, and we'll be able to troubleshoot that for you. Hi, Adam, I do see your question. I just have one more slide I want to cover quickly as we have hit our 1 hour mark. Right? Really great feature, guys, is email confirmations and push notifications. Okay, so if you have our JCMT times, you can send push notifications, and you can also send what is called our pro shop notifications. Okay, so this is great. If what you can do is you can send a communication to everyone who has a tea time for that day all at once, like whether it's for weather or anything you just want to let them know of. Okay, the great way to reach everyone at the same time. For online ordering, you can send staff email notifications. So this is great if you guys are using the online order queue, because you can actually have notifications go to your staff, say, hey, we've got a new order in the queue, make sure you take a look. With that, you can also send member notifications. So you can let your members know that their order has been received. So, hey, Rob, your order is ready, or your order is in, we're just getting it ready, as well as order ready notifications, where it would be, hey, Rob, your order is ready for pickup. Okay, these can be sent through both email and push notifications. And then in Jam and Encore, we have email and push notifications for our booking modules. Okay, so for this, all you have to do is turn them on. And in order to actually send and receive push notifications, you do have to have our Clubhouse Online mobile app. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right. So again, I know we are getting limited on time. You guys had some really, really great questions in there. We really appreciate it. Um, Rob, I don't know if you can quickly chime in on the last couple questions there.
Yeah, I'm look at the first one in terms of, in addition to more info on the media library cleanup, are there web page coding resources that other clients have found helpful for making their website more friendly or more mobile friendly or responsive? I would say from a mobile friendly or responsive, if your site is not responsive today, I would contact us, contact support, and investigate the possibility of moving to a widget solution, which would make your site completely responsive. I don't think I want to have. We don't really allow for that much code to be manually put in, so I wouldn't recommend a coding solution that would get you to build the content yourself. I would think about going the widget route, contacting someone in support, and they can walk you through what that entails. And it's basically a redesign of your site, but we're recommending every 2 to 3 years we should be refreshing it anyway. So I would definitely contact support in that regard. As far as the question about reports for seasonal addresses, I would, by no means am I an expert in either JCM or Encore in terms of retrieving a list of addresses, but I'm sure there's a way to get that information out. And again, you may be better off just contacting Jonas Club support, and they can walk you through that process as far as extracting that data from your member file.
Excellent. And again, I know just because we are cut on time here, the chat is going to actually remain open for the remainder of the conference. So Rob and I will continue to take a look. You guys are welcome to post any other questions. And if we didn't get to your question, Rob and I will go through it and we'll follow up with you directly. But please feel free to post in there. We have a question and answer section. Or you can honestly even connect with us in the social event platform and we'll be able to follow up with you in there. We just wanted to say thank you guys so much for listening and asking all these really great questions. I hope you learned a lot of new tips and tricks, best practices. And remember, if you haven't yet, make sure you take those PDFs with you. Lots of great resources, lots of great links. Check out our videos, check out our documents, check out our webinars, okay? Lots of resources here for you guys. And again, thank you so much for attending. That's day one of Thrive 2021 Down. And throughout the conference, again, everything's open. Do the poll, do the event games, and we will see you guys again on Monday.
Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thanks, guys. Bye.